everybody, it's Jackson Fulcher here, and I know you probably weren't expecting a video like this. Like, well, Jackson, what is this, a Netflix catch-up thing? It's not really for TV. I'm gonna do The Punisher, like, on its own video. This video is mainly just for some of the Netflix films that I've seen that I really do need to catch up on, that I really do want to talk about to some degree, because all four of them have considerably high ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, meaning that the majority of people who submitted their reviews to Rotten Tomatoes liked it enough, and I don't really agree, and I wasn't really going to at first, but I considered, like, you know, I did see them, and I would like to talk about them. I know some people might argue, like, well, they were released to Netflix, not technically a theatrical release, so it wouldn't really, like, count for, like, a best or worst list, and these movies probably won't end up on a best, definitely not a best, or my worst even. They're just movies that I saw, and I just kind of need to talk about them, because I planned on doing it, and I think maybe I promised to talk about them at some point, and I just never did. So this is my way of basically catching up. I have four movies that I would like to discuss with you guys, so let's just jump right into it. This is going to be kind of a casual thing. I'm not going to really spend a whole lot of time editing this one, because it's not really one of the formal reviews. Like when I review The Punisher or Wind River, which I just saw, those will be normal reviews, but this is just going to be a little more... if you've seen I Hate Everything's this Quest for the Best, like, kind of like that, pretty much. So let's get into it. So I saw OKIYA at the ending of the summer. That's when I decided to watch it. I needed something to watch. Summer was dying down, and I was bored because school was going to start soon. And, you know, I was a fan of Snowpiercer for the most part. I wasn't in love with it. I wasn't, like, gaga for it. But I did like it, and I wanted to see what else the director could do. And it's got this great cast, like Tilda Swinton, Paul Dano, Jake Gyllenhaal. I knew that one. There's someone else, who is it? Giancarlo Esposito, and I'm pretty sure Lily Collins was in this too. I don't see her name on the cast list right now. There she is, yeah. And Stephen Ewan. They have several recognizable faces in this film. And I was looking forward to it because I wanted to see what else the director could do. It's a Netflix movie. Like, what I want to see what they do with that, because they are going to make a lot more Netflix movies. And this movie, I felt like I was being preached to, like, for the majority of it. Like, it's like one of those documentaries you watch about food. Like, you know about all the bad things that come, like, with food, unless it's, like, grown from the ground. Like, you know, those kind of documentaries. And once you see one of those documentaries, my thing is, like, you've kind of seen all of them. Like, a lot of the things they talk about are just stuff that people kind of already know, so it's kind of like, why are you even doing this? Kind of the same with this movie. It's kind of about the super pig creature. One of them is named OKIYA, who is raised up by this young girl, who they're going to take the super pig away because it's the biggest one they've ever seen, and they want to eat it. They want to make food out of it. And it's like you get what they're going for. Like, you get what their message is, their parallels to real life and all that. And my problem isn't really with that message. It's just that throughout the majority of the film, it just felt plain. Oh my god. It just more so kind of felt like that the movie was kind of looking down on the entire audience in that kind of in that kind of regard. I like the cast. Tilda Swinton and Jake Gyllenhaal were bad though. Giancarlo Esposito was good. Paul Dano was really good. Like, the animal rights group was actually pretty good, because they weren't just shown as, like, we're the squeaky clean guys. Like, they have some issues. I think Stephen Ewan was a big part of that. He was also really good. That group was really good. I would have liked if they had more of a focus, because they weren't so two-dimensional. Like, they were very three-dimensional. That's what I was looking for. The young girl who is raising OKIYA, for like the first 10 minutes, they have like this solid sequence where they're like going around the woods and bonding, and I was like, alright, that's cool. But as soon as they get back home, that's when she kind of started to not work for me, pretty much. And then they take OKIYA away, and the whole movie's about her trying to rescue him, and it's like, now I'm not really buying into her very much. Like, she did well for considering her age, but it's just like, I don't know if this is like carry a movie worthy, you know what I mean? Like Neil Seddy from The Jungle Book, or what's her name from the BFG, I forget, but like those two are like young actors who can carry their own movie, you know, especially Neil Seddy, who did like amazing in The Jungle Book. And then this girl is just like, she's okay when she's surrounded by the creatures, but as soon as like she's on her own with other real people, it doesn't really work as well. I will say though that the ending of the movie, the last 10 minutes, it was very dour. It was very grim, but there was a slight sliver of hope in there. So it was that kind of melancholy ending that will strike a chord with you if you have a heart. Like, I think you could even, like, really hate everything, but, like, when you see, like, what goes down, like, the last 10 minutes or so, it will hit somewhere in here, you know? And that was kind of my reaction, too. Like, even though I thought that a lot of the movie was just kind of like preachy, like, okay, I get it, this is kind of like a PETA movie pretty much, except with fictional creatures, that last bit was just kind of like, okay, that's effective. That's really effective. There's a few fun chases in there, but it's nothing that'll save the movie. It's not even an action movie really, so it's not really like it's gearing towards that. I don't know, this movie was just kind of boring and preachy, and there was a few moments where it got kind of interesting, but nothing really too much where I would recommend it to anyone. But I'm in the minority. I showed the Rotten Tomato score earlier. I'm in the minority for sure, but, you know, it just wasn't for me. Like, I'm still astounded by Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie. Like, he was actually a live-action cartoon in the worst way possible. Like, the voices he's doing... so cringe. Like, I couldn't stand watching him in this movie. I hope he was much better and stronger, but I haven't seen that movie yet. All I remember is his last performance was this, and it's ridiculous. I'd give OKIYA a C. Like, it's very, like, straight down the middle, mediocre for me. A few things that I admire, things that I'm thinking, okay, this could have worked better. But just for me, I need to remind you people that this is just my personal ideas. Just the rest of the movie just didn't feel up to par with its concept, pretty much. And I think they preached a little too much on the soapbox. Maybe step down for a bit. The Meyerowitz Stories, new and selected, I was really excited for because there was a ton of buzz about it when it was like at a film festival. Adam Sandler doing a drama, people saying that he deserved an Oscar nomination for it, and, you know, Ben Stiller in it as well, and Dustin Hoffman. Well, this was before the allegations, so I was excited to see him. And I was watching the movie, and, you know, it's greatly acted. Adam Sandler, the best he's been in years, I would say. He is so good here. Ben Stiller is also really good. Like, there's a scene where he has to, like, break down in front of a crowd, and that was really, like, hit me right in the feels. Their sister character as well, like, she was really good, and Dustin Hoffman was good. I can still say that because his acting talent is good. It's just that the movie as a whole, like, when they're focusing on kind of like certain dramatic elements of, like, we don't know what's going to happen with Dad, or, like, them trying to, like, bond again, like, they've been kind of estranged for a while. Like, that was really unique to me. I really wanted to, like, delve more into that. I was just kind of bored with a lot of this movie, though. I think out of all the four I'm going to be talking about, this is the best one. But I was still kind of bored with it. Like, there's certain stuff that goes on that I was just kind of zoning out of. Like, the young Adam Sandler's daughter, like, goes to film school, and she's, like, making porn, and she's sending it to the family, and they're like, oh yeah, that was really good job. It's like, what is that about? You know, like, that came out of nowhere. That doesn't need to be in the movie. The ending was really kind of surprisingly abrupt, too, because the movie's, like, really long. Not really long, but, like, long enough. Like, I think it reaches 2 hours, and the ending felt really off. And so does the editing. The editing in this movie is really weird. They do, like, one thing in the beginning where it's like the editing cuts off someone, like, mid-sentence, and I was like, okay, that works for a gag. They kept doing that, like, a few more times throughout the movie, and there's also like a moment where Adam Sandler is like he's saying something, and they, like, cut to, like, a close-up of him saying something else, another close-up cut and saying something, and then one more, like, right on his lips, and it's like, what is that? Like, what's the stylistic approach when it comes to the editing of this scene right here? Like, that was just really distracting, honestly. There's a few good things, as I mentioned. This movie's not terrible. It's not like mediocre, I guess, like OKIYA was. I'd say that this was just a really disappointing movie for me because I was honestly expecting. I was expecting to get something a little bit more out of it, and you will get something out of it. And once again, I'm in the minority on this film, so this could just be a me problem. And the acting is good. You can watch it for the acting, and it's really good performances. I wouldn't say it's like Oscar worthy or anything, but Adam Sandler is the best he's been in years, so there's that. Maybe you should get an Oscar just for that. He didn't make Pixels again. But just the overall feeling was just kind of dry, you know? Like, there are certain scenes where people... It's a talking movie. People have conversations with each other. They talk. And when I was watching it, when I was really engaged, though, like I was kind of just transfixed on the dialogue, and then when certain things kind of got a little boring, I started to doze off a little bit. That's when I kind of noticed, like, how, like, dull, like, some of the cinematography kind of it. Like, I don't even remember, like, if there was, like, a musical score or anything. Like, the movies is kind of made in a dull way, you know, and I don't know if this is, like, a Noah Baumbach's, approach to, like, other movies. This is his first movie I've seen. But I think for this movie, it just doesn't really work, especially because they're dealing with a lot of, like, a dialogue-heavy scenes, and if it's not done properly, and if the audience isn't, like, always engaged, like, certain things will start to stand out. Like, well, there's nothing really that special about the cinematography or even the music or anything. Some of this dialogue isn't even really working for me. Overall, I was hoping for a little bit more. I'd give it a C+. It's a movie you can watch once, I'd say. If you're a big, like, Oscar fan, like, you don't care about any, like, Avengers or Star Wars kind of movies, like, I'm kind of a mixed between, like, the big fan movies and also the smaller stuff. If you're more smaller stuff, you'll probably love this movie, obviously, but I don't really see where people are coming from when they're praising this movie. Obviously, it's a well acted. I guess the biggest standout is that the acting is really great. It's just that I wasn't always engaged with it. Like, there's a scene where, like, Adam Sandler and Ben Stiller are kind of arguing with each other, like, out in this open field, and it's just never ending, and, like, that's when you think, like, they're about to end it, and they're gonna go back inside. Oh, nope, they got more arguing to do. Like, that was actually, like, really, like, interesting. And then they kind of cut away from that, and I was like, I kind of wanted to see, like, where else that could go, you know? So, C+ for Meyerowitz Stories. Definitely the best movie I'm going to be talking about on here, though. 1922 is the most boringest movie that I've seen on Netflix, and this isn't even my least favorite one. It's good for the first act. I'd say, in case you don't know what it is, it's based off the short story or novella by Stephen King, whatever the difference is, basically about a man and his son plotting to murder his wife. I believe it was because of financial reasons, or just, honestly, I don't remember because I was really bored, and it's been like a month, so that, no, it's been like a month and a half, really. I'd say the first act is really good, mainly because Thomas Jane is, like, he was really good. It's kind of funny after a while once you notice that he's not really separating his teeth at all. He's talking through them. But, his voice is very gruff. It's very, like, serious, and it's actually pretty effective at a lot of points. It's a very good voice, it's just that his teeth don't move. And I think his performance kind of carries, like, the first act for a little bit, and his son, like, the conversation that he has with the son for the first act, at least, like, it's very, very good stuff. And the actual murder of the wife, who was also in House of Cards, I noticed that later, she was good, and the murder scene was pretty, like, terrifying, just as far as, like, you're actually seeing, like, a man and his son murder, like, the woman in their lives, you know, the wife and the mother, you know. So that was really good. It's just that everything after that just kind of slowed way down. And there's, like, one scene where I was thinking, like, oh, where did this come from? Like, this is getting really interesting again, like, really exciting. And then it just kind of faded away, and it was just like, oh, it's not really that scary anymore. I will say, though, that this movie ends on a hell of a shot. Like, the last shot of 1922 is actually, like, scarier than like anything else in the film, you know, like almost at least. Like that, like it came out of nowhere to me, and it wasn't like a loud noise, it wasn't like something in your face, it was just a subtle, like the subtlest thing, and it was like so good. And I wasn't scared by the movie at all until that last shot, and I was like, oh my god, you know? Like, if the movie had, like, more of this stuff, like, that would have been so good. But a lot of it is just kind of more like what it does psychologically to Thomas Jane afterwards, and it's never really entirely that engaging to me. Like, I lost interest, like, almost immediately. Like, I remember, like, the only thing I really remember out of the second and third act, besides the ending shot and the one scene I thought was getting kind of good again, was that there was a CGI cow that they were gonna, they put the wife in the well, and they were gonna cover it up by dumping this cow in, and the CGI for it when it fell in was actually kind of funny to me, so I, like, cracked up laughing at that. That's, like, one of the only things I really remember out of this movie, but, the cinematography is excellent, though. The sound design is also, like, really good. Like, haunting score as well. It's just that, in the context of the movie, with the actual scenes, what the characters are going through just didn't really match up, you know? It didn't really just... It was just kind of faltering, you know? And I was a little disappointed because even though the first act is a little slow, like, I was still interested to see where it was going to go. And then it just kind of sputtered out, like, as soon as the murder happened to me. So I'd give 1922 a C as well. I definitely prefer to watch OKIYA again, because even though I never really could see myself watching OKIYA again because of, like, the feelings I got because of the ending, and also because I didn't like the movie, at least that movie had a few more instances where I was really interested, and 1922 just had a really good start, and then just kind of sputtered out until the ending, which was, like, really good, but it only made me wish that everything in between that was even better. So yeah, it was the most boring thing that I've seen out of these 4 Netflix movies. That doesn't automatically make it horrible, though. Like, I'll give this movie props for Thomas Jane's performance and the other performances, cinematography, sound design, and all that stuff, but it could have been better. Like, it could have been actually, like, psychologically, like, messed up kind of movie, like a psychological breakdown, exploring what murdering your wife with your son does to a person. So, yeah, C for 1922, wasn't a big fan, could have been better, but it's not the worst movie on here. The worst movie on here is... I found out that McG had made a Netflix movie called The Babysitter. I was interested in the trailer a little bit, like the babysitter who seems like the best babysitter ever. Like, she's a complete dork, like with the boy, and she's actually the actress who was recently in 3 Billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri. Smaller role, but really good. But besides that, this movie, I was really interested to see it because of the concept alone. Like, messed up babysitter, but she's really nice to this boy. Like, what's the kind of dynamic there, you know? I found out McG was directing it, though, and I think he wrote it. I think he has, like, maybe a part in the screenplay, at least. And that really does explain a lot. Like, there's a lot of bad McG dialogue that was very evident from the very start. When you have, like, middle schoolers talking and, like, like practically middle schoolers, like, at least freshmen in high school. Like, practically that. Not older, like, at least freshmen in high school. Or younger. But, their dialogue is, like, so unrealistic, and, you know, I'm all for, like, movies having, like, kids swearing, because that's what kids will do in high school. I'm all for kids being represented well in high school or school movies, because if you do it unrealistically, it's gonna come across as fake, and anyone will pick up on that and completely be distanced from the movie. But this movie, they try to go for realism with, like, crude dialogue, but it's, like, the, like, wrong crude. It's, like raunchy, like, even more raunchy than most people would. Like, not everybody is as clever to come up with the gross and raunchy stuff that you have these kids saying, you know? It's just that typical kind of McG dialogue that doesn't really work for this movie. There is a, like, 10-minute portion where the babysitter and the boy, they're just on their own in the house, and that was really good. Like, the chemistry between these two is actually fantastic. It's the best part of the movie. and when they're like they're talking about like who would be like your like crew on like a spaceship, like featuring like sci-fi characters, and they were talking about that. And it was like, it was really good, like really well thought out nerd stuff. Like they were reenacting like movie scenes, like as the scenes are playing out. So that was really cool. It's when her friends come over, her satanic friends come over pretty much, is when the movie gets bad. Bella Thorne is there and she's terrible. I don't like her. I don't like her as an actress. I'm sorry. Like I can't think of one role that she's done that I've liked. And yeah, I just don't like King Bach from The Vine Star. Apparently he's an actor because he was also in like 50 Shades of Black, the Marlon Wayans movie. Apparently he does movies now. Not good. Like I'll admit, like his vines weren't terrible. Like he was better than other Viners at least, but like he's not the best part of this movie. His death scene, however, is a really good like gore part of this film. Like there's a lot of death in this movie. None of them work except for his. Like his was actually like, it made my eyes go back like, oh my god. But everyone else's was just kind of goofy, and not that that's bad, but it's just like, it's nothing that's gonna like get me more invested in the movie. That's nothing that's gonna make me cheer for this character. The characters are just all like really bad. Like as soon as the satanic friends come over, that's when the boy, like I started to get kind of annoyed with him. The babysitter also just kind of got annoyed with her. There's a really good there's two actually really good suspense sequences. One involving him having to pretend to sleep while they pull out a needle to like get some of his blood out. And he's like deathly afraid of needles, so as soon as he hears them say needles, like his eyes go wide, like what? And he has to pretend to keep sleeping, and that was actually a really good scene. There's also a moment where him and the girl like right across the street are like in a house, and the babysitter's like surrounding like the area, like both all the rooms, and they have to like hide from her. Like that was really good. I think a lot of it comes down to like this movie just feels really like, it just feels like a really raunchy McG movie that just doesn't really work. Like, none of the comedy I thought worked. I think raunch can do really well, and I think this movie could have done really well. Just, it was McG. It was McG who kind of ruined it, honestly. I'm not a big fan of McG, in case you couldn't tell. And you can really point out, like, that's a McG problem, that's a McG problem, that's definitely a McG problem. There's, like, a car crash, like, the kid, like, to use like some song, like a really popular song, I forget what it was, but he was driving like his car and like smashing it into the house just to kill his babysitter, and like that, and it didn't even kill her because there's a mid-credit scene where she kills a police officer, so she's like horror movie villain now. They're setting up a sequel. Yeah, this movie, I was actually hoping for a little bit more because the concept seemed interesting, but it's just a lot of bad humor, bad McG humor, one good death, and a bunch of other goofy stuff that doesn't really work, characters you don't care about. Like, Robbie Amell is in this movie, but I could care less, honestly. Like, honestly, I'd rather watch 9 Lives with him again, because at least that movie's funny bad, and this is just bad, unfunny bad. But yeah, Samara Weaving, the actress plays the babysitter, and the boy, they're really good together. And I kind of wish that the movie was just kind of just them, because as soon as you include the other people, it's just like, that's not very, I don't like that very much, you know? I'd give The Babysitter a D+, really, because this movie's really not as mediocre as the other 3 I've been talking about. It's really not that entertaining. Like, a lot of times I was just kind of screaming, like, what is going on? There's even some editing in this movie that is really appalling. Like, they have, like, for the conversation I mentioned earlier, like, who's your space crew, pretty much, that editing worked, but then later on, when the babysitter does her first kill, and the boy's, like, watching from the side, and his eyes go wide, and literally, WTF, or it's either the actual phrase or the abbreviated WTF shows up on the screen, and I was thinking, like, yeah, we get it. Why are you literally typing it out in front of us? Like, what is this, McG? But yeah, this is a bad one. This is a really bad Netflix movie. And it came out around Halloween. It doesn't really get you into the Halloween spirit. There's nothing really that scary. It's just kind of bad McG stuff. So yeah, that's the worst one of the Netflix movies I'm covering. What did you think of these movies? I'm done talking about them. What did you think of them? Leave in the comments below what you thought. Are there any Netflix movies I should watch? I know Gerald's Game. I still need to see that. But are any other Netflix movies I should consider that I haven't seen already? Leave that in the comments below if you want to. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.